So hello and welcome back to the Living Legends podcast. I'm your host for today. My name's Az from Go Again Gaming, and as always joined by the two lovely gentlemen across the pond from myself. That's Bill from Spike Feeders and Kel from Red Zone Rogue, of course. How are you doing?
Howdy.
Again.
Yeah, I'm doing just fine today. We have quite the topic. But yeah, I mean, this weekend has been really solid. I was unfortunately not able to go to Richmond, but I saw a lot of people having a lot of fun in Richmond. So I kind of had to deal with that deep down in my heart that I wasn't there. But all in all, there's been a lot of excitement. And yeah, feeling really solid about this and really excited for the episode today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. I've been very entrenched in doing my own spoiler video and just literally spent 2 solid days of working on it. Good 8 to 9 hours editing, but there's also just like gathering like the 70 to 80 assets that I use and all that kind of stuff. But it was really nice yesterday after my spoiler went live. I was so exhausted I just didn't work on anything. I just watched and read all the other spoilers, and I'm really excited to talk about them. There's some really cool stuff. So
yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing stuff. That's what I mean. Both your videos were fantastic, by the way. And if you haven't checked them out already, if you're listening to this now or in the future, go and have a look. If you haven't, for whatever reason, if you've been living under a rock, then go and have a look at them. Awesome work, guys. Really liked enjoying watching the videos.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I didn't get a preview, so I'm doing the podcast today. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, now you get to boss us around.
Yeah. So before we go into all the juicy spoilers, do you want to go over maybe something we've been doing this week in Flesh and Blood that's maybe not related to spoilers, or is that where all the efforts have been going, do you think?
It's for me, it's been like 90% into spoilers. Like my video that I put out on Friday or on Wednesday, I think, was like really lazy, which was just a box opening because I was like, I don't have time for anything else. So let's just open up a box of history pack and just talk, because that's like the easiest thing I can think of just doing.
They're nice videos, aren't they? They're just chill out videos, just opening product.
Yeah, I've been working a little bit on my deck for the Uprising world premiere event. Well, for the Team Blitz calling event. And I think I've solidified my deck. I think my team, we've got all registered. My team is myself, DM Armada, and Jim from FAB TCG Cards. And I don't know if we have a team name yet. We've kind of rattled around some names, but we all have our
Living Legends.
Living Legend. I mean, that's cool. That would be our team name, though. If we did a team event, that'd be our team name.
I was going to say, that's already been trademarked. So.
Yeah. Imagine that, though. That'd be quality, wouldn't it? It'd be like, a Canada flag, a Great Britain flag, and a USA flag, all in one team.
This is
so sick.
This is a like tri-international podcast, which is I think we're the only tri-international Flesh and Blood podcast.
Got to represent, haven't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What about you, Bill? Anything apart from your fantastic cosplay?
No, unfortunately, that was just about everything that I was able to do this week. There was actually, today was one of my LGS, their first commoner event.
Ooh.
And it sounded like we had a pretty decent turnout, 9 people for that one, which that's like around what we get on average anyway. So the fact that it was for, technically a new format for them is nice to see. I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't able to get to it, but I just had some other, in addition to this, I had a couple other things that I had to do today. So
yeah, exactly.
Perhaps for the next one. But yeah, mostly just filming the preview video that we did. And then just theory crafting about, now that, it's out in the open and I can talk about it, I spent like a few days just rolling around the idea of Phoenix Flame in my head and just being like, what could this mean? Like I was talking about it with Az and Kel a little bit before we hit record here, but I deduced, and I think I deduced pretty well, which now that I have that confirmation in my head, I think a few of my other maybe sort of wilder speculations could potentially hold more water than I first anticipated, but we'll wait to get into that, of course, when we talk about the spoilers.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this week, even though I didn't actually get to do anything, super hands-on, just there's tons of excitement, and I'm really happy to see what everybody is doing, what all the new cards are, and again, I'm super excited to talk about this in this episode today.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, it's going to be a spicy, hot topic, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously, yeah, and for people that are behind the scenes, we're actually recording this on a Sunday. Normally we do it on a Saturday, don't we? So we made use of the fact that we got 2 days worth of spoilers, and obviously we'll credit each person where the credit is due as well for each spoiler that's come out. Yeah, because obviously I wasn't involved in this sort of spoiler season. Maybe I will be in the future, hopefully. But one of the main things I want to talk about and what I want to plug just quickly before we go into this is I did a commoner tournament this weekend, and the footage is all available on Go Again Gaming YouTube. It was live streamed. I did play in this tournament, and it was a commoner tournament, and every person was playing a different character.
Ooh, nice.
So it was a nice sort of spread meta. Briar did win, unfortunately, with multiple ball lightnings and minuisms and all those ridiculous combos. But going back on, we had a massive discussion about Commoner last week, and one of the main statements and takeaways of that was the fact that it's still very, very high level flesh and blood, even though you're not running the rares and majestics and legendaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of coverage on the Go Again Gaming Open 4, which is on my channel, so I will plug that just while I'm here.
Who'd you play?
Guess.
I mean, I would guess Azalea, but
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It started really well, and I played the champion of the tournament, spoiler alert, was Briar, and I played the Briar player to begin with, and I started off so well. I put through an 11 dominated headshot on the first turn, and he took 8 damage on the first turn. I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be okay. And then, yeah, Briar did Runeblade, just does the Runeblade things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my week. So yeah, go and check that out if you're listening to this now in the future. It was a full day of live stream event. But yeah, that brings us on to obviously the stuff that everyone's clamoring at the bit to speak about, and that is obviously the UPR spoilers or the Uprising spoilers. And we'll start off with, as Sloop Dupe says, the Dragon Mummy, which is I think is a fantastic way to describe this lady, and that's Dromai Ash Artist. Which is was it the first hero we saw? I guess, with all the text. And that was from Tournament Center. Forgive my ignorance, I don't know what they do.
I think they're a European-based tournament organizer, I think.
Well, you should know these things if I'm European.
Are you truly European? It's all
well, Brexit, Brexit, is a thing. Anyway.
That's true. That is true.
But there we go. So Dromai Ash Artist. Did you want me to read these out, or do you want to take turns? Because I know you can see the document in front.
Can I start with Dromai?
Let's go.
Yeah. Dude, I love Dromai. Like, not just because I got a banging spoiler card for Dromai, but she's awesome.
And the character design so far, for Dromai and Phi, and then the nameless characters that you see in some of the other the actions and stuff. The design in this set, again, is fantastic.
Dude,
I'm blown away.
I second that 1,000,000%. I love the silver-haired ninja in one of the cards I think we'll talk about today. But I want to give a huge shout out to Robbie Wen from Legend Story Studios. He doesn't get a lot of limelight like James White does. In fact, I think he prefers not to, is what he told me. But he's the creative director. He's kind of if James is the face and does a lot of the cards and that, Robbie is all the creative side. He's the creative director of the game. And
he murders it constantly.
He's so good. So huge shout out to Robbie. Holy crap, dude. I love this set so far. I think it's too early to say, but I think it might be my favorite set since Arcane Rising.
Very cool.
And that's saying a lot because I love all this. So I'll stop beating around the bush. Let's talk about Dromai. So Dromai is a Draconic Illusionist hero. She has the standard stat breakdown. She has the 4 intellect and the 40 life. This is for the adult hero, and the young hero is just Dromai, and it has the same kind of deal, 4 intellect and then 20 life. And it says, Whenever you pitch a red card, create an ash token. We'll talk about ash token in just a second. And then it says, if you've played a red card this turn, dragons you control have go again while attacking. So, Dromai, on the base level, cares about red cards and dragons, which is awesome. And then let me pull up the ash token real quick just so I can go over it. So an ash token is kind of something that just sits around until you do something else. And it just says, it's a Draconic Illusionist token ash. It's not an aura. It says material, it's a new keyword. While ash is under an object, that object has phantasm. And so when I first saw this, I was like, what? How does this even work? Well, it turns out cards that you play and effects basically transform ash into dragons, and you put the card directly over the top of the ash, thereby giving that dragon phantasm. So that's kind of how it works. You want to pitch red cards with Dromai to generate the ash, play red cards to give your dragons go again. What do you guys think about Dromai?
I think I think that I saw a couple of things about, you know, Ash and Ether Ashwings and stuff before I saw Dromai, just from, you know, conspiring with some other content creators. I don't know if that's going to get me in trouble or not. But I saw it and I was like, I don't know, like Ashwings seem cool because at their core, they're a 1/1 token. They're an ally. That, you know, because of the Ash, they need to go on the Ash. They will always have Phantasm, and they have Arcane Barrier 1. So it's like, okay, cool. They're like tiny little ping guys that are kind of tough to deal with. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be really interesting because, you know, they don't have an attack built in and they don't have go again. So it's like, well, is this just going to be, you know, ways to beef up your Arcane Barrier or something? And then I saw Dromai, and the ease at which you can create ashes by just pitching red cards. Like if you're playing something that costs 2 and you pitch 2 red cards for it, I don't know if that's what this deck actually wants to do, but that creates 2 ash tokens. And then we've seen some other cards, which again, we'll talk about later, but that can, for 1 card, turn multiple ashes into ashwings. And then because most of those cards that create ashwings are red, it gives all of the dragons go again.
Yeah. So for listeners out there, if you're new to Flesh and Blood or don't really understand the ally mechanics, what Bill meant by saying 1/1 is that they have 1 attack and they have 1 health, which means any, you know, point of damage will kill them. Unlike the Spectra mechanic, it doesn't. You still have your go again, right? So you can go again and kill a bunch of these all in like 1 turn. If you, let's say you have like some Kadachis and 2 Aether Ashwing, your opponent has 2 Aether Ashwings, you can Kadachi both of them, right? You can attack one, attack the other one.
So when you're selecting a target, you select the ally that you're attacking. Is that right? I haven't really attacked into many allies in my Flesh and Blood time.
The key thing to note with allies is you cannot defend for them, though. So if someone's attacking them, you cannot block for them. It just happens.
Oh, okay. So they use their targeted attack on your allies, so you can't block with them. I guess that's still creating a bit of a state where they're having to use their cards not against your life total. So I guess that's
So even though these only have one defense, if you know they really want to get rid of something, they really want to get rid of your 1 Ashwing, but they only have an attack for 4, that attack goes directly and completely into the Ashwing. It doesn't bleed over to you, like there's no extra damage as part of that attack, which I think is really interesting as well, because if these are really annoying and, you know, you have to deal with them, then they can potentially soak up a lot of damage over the course of a game.
That's right.
And bigger dragons, bigger allies, it's important to note that damage doesn't stay. It's not permanent on them. That you have to deal the full amount of damage in 1 turn to kill them. So say, for example, another card we'll talk about has 4 life. You will need to deal 4 damage to that ally in a single turn to eliminate it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think that Dromai is going to be a really interesting hero, potentially very annoying to play against.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too. I think it's going to be it's the closest that Flesh and Blood now has to for those in the audience that have played Magic before, a token strategy, which you know is a very popular strategy to like from you know when I was playing Magic. Tokens are just cool. It's kind of cool to just have all these dinky little guys that are, at your command. And now you can kind of do that with these dragons that are made out of ash. So
Yeah.
it's really
amazing.
cool.
Yeah,
the flavor of it is awesome.
It is. Yeah, it's very different to what we've seen so far, and it's establishing a board state, and that board state affecting your opponent's decisions is something we haven't really seen yet. I know we've had Spectras and other big allies in the past, but this is, as you say, it's more of a swarm token strategy, and you could even include spectral shields to a certain degree. There's illusionist cards that spew out the shield still, so you could do some really janky stuff, which would be good in Ultimate Pit Fight.
Yeah. To tack onto that and to cap off Dromai, I just want to mention how you actually attack with the dragons, because the dragons don't have an attack function printed on the card. It just has like the Aether Ashwing, for example, just has Arcane Barrier 1 and no way to attack with it. And the way to attack with it is incredibly simple. And I just want to talk about it really, really quickly before we jump on to other more exciting stuff. It's just her weapon is the Storm of Sandakai. This was previewed by Loel Defidia, Ave Ste, French YouTube channel. And it's very simple. It's a Draconic Illusionist weapon, Scepter, two-handed, and it just says, dragon allies you control have once per turn action for a cost of 0 attack. So
nice.
Basically, Dromai's weapon allows your dragons to attack. We haven't seen a majestic one. This one is a token. So it's very simple. Her weapon allows the dragons to attack.
Cool. I mean, I think we had a lot of people sort of speculating that would be the case because when we saw the dragons, I think a long time ago with just the previews that LSS put out themselves, they didn't have the same text as the old Monarch heroes, which actually said on them once per turn action 0 attack. They didn't have that, so a lot of people were speculating that. So yeah, it makes sense. And it makes sense to mention it as well directly after we just mentioned that. So yeah, thanks for jumping ahead on that side of things. And do you want to speak about a big dragon now then? Dominia? Should we go for that one? Previewed by TCG Player?
Yeah.
Big dragon.
I would like to talk about this one. So this is another sort of new type of card that we haven't seen yet. So Invoke Dominia is a new type of card called an Invocation. And a lot of questions that I've seen about these cards specifically is these cards are double-sided. So you have, the invocation on one side, and then instead of having just the flesh and blood back on the other, there's actually the dragon that it invokes on the other side.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. They're not actually like tokens; they're just part of the same card, which I think is interesting and also makes sense just from you play this card and if you had a way to recycle it right away or get it back into your hand, then you could do it multiple times. So instead, because the card is its own thing, you can't really, at least with the same Invoke Dominia, which this one is legendary. I should talk about that again before actually getting into the card. But the fact that the card that invokes it is also the token itself, the game piece that it represents. You can't, get into an opportunity where you could potentially play multiple of these. You only have the one to work with. But anyway, so Invoke Dominia is a red pitch Draconic Illusionist action invocation for 4 resources. Costs 4 resources. It defends for 3 and has no attack value. It is legendary, so you can only have one of them in your deck. And its text reads, transform target ash you control into Dominia, and then go again. And then it has some flavor text to sort of explain what that means, and it's put the ash underneath the transformed version of this card, so the transverse side. So that would inherently, of course, give Dominia Phantasm, but then also gives you a 4/4, 4 attack, 4 health, Draconic Illusionist Dragon Ally. That reads, whenever Dominia attacks a hero, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a red card, look at their hand and banish a card from it.
See ya.
Which is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Especially because it's not on damage, it's on attack declaration. So it's before they have a chance to even defend with stuff. So you can, get rid of a card that you don't want them to sandbag and hold for their next turn, or you can get rid of a defense reaction that they were going to use. Like, it's...
so good. It is really good.
Yeah, I think this is a really flexible card.
It's spicy.
And I love the invocations just in general. I think that they're a really cool utilization of this double-faced card mechanic. And yeah, so far from all the dragons that I've seen, I'm actually pretty impressed with all of them in varying degrees. But I do very much like Dominia here.
Yeah, I think it's sweet, and I also think it once again leans into that red pitch mechanic synergy that looks like Dromai is going for. Deck construction for these decks is going to be very interesting because the Invoke Dominia side costs 4 to play, but it also incentivizes you to play red cards. So getting to that 4, maybe you play a deck where you play a lot of blues and a lot of reds and no yellows or something.
Yeah, it's a weird one because it's like, as you say, it's very red heavy, and all the synergies tend to be red. But that's a 4 cost. That's quite a lot of resources to put. That's basically your entire hand if you're running all reds.
Yeah.
So and obviously the actual effect of Dominia is quite control-y as well. So I think all the dragons and stuff that we're going to obviously speak about is going to factor into a bit of a control strategy, which in having a lot of red pitches is also counterintuitive, but I'm sure we're going to see more stuff as time goes on. But it's very red deck, but control. Seems like an interesting deck construction method.
It's almost like 2 different styles of gameplay right now, as far as we can see. Because for most of the Draconic stuff, I think actually all of the Draconic stuff, we've only seen red pitch versions of all these cards. Which, for Majestics and stuff, they will only come in red pitch. But even for the commons and stuff, we've only seen the red pitches. So maybe some of them don't have alternate versions. Maybe they only come in red. Like, it's stuff that, we don't quite know yet. Which I think is interesting because it leads to a lot of speculation. And, like the theory crafting won't be complete until we do actually see every card in the set. So
exactly, and obviously it's red liner decks do tend to be pure aggro 0 cost stuff, so it sort of flips it round a little bit from what we've seen so far. But obviously we'll see a lot more going forward. So going down this, obviously we spoke about Ash a little bit in the past, and there's another card here from Dozer. And it was an equipment that he spoiled alongside the Ash and Aether Wings, Ash Wings as well, and that's Silken Form. So a new common equipment, which at instant speed you can destroy it and transform target Ash you control into one of those little gosling Ashwing little babies.
Gosling.
Little gosling, little geesling, and obviously, as we discussed already, you can attack with it with the scepter. But also another a keyword on here, which is new, what we haven't seen yet, is Quell. So in this case, on Silken Form, it's Quell 1. I should say that this doesn't block for anything as a token equipment. It's just a 0 block, but it has Quell 1 on there. So this says, if your hero will be dealt damage, so that's any damage, you may pay a resource, which I imagine is to do with the Quell 1. If it's Quell 2 or 3, I imagine you'd pay different amounts. You can pay 1 to prevent 1 of that damage, and if you do, destroy Silken Form. So basically, it does block for 1, really, after reading it. Reading a card explains the card. But the key thing here is that it prevents damage, just any damage from any source, which is what we haven't seen before, which I like.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's interesting about Quell that I very much enjoy here is that the destruction of it only happens at the end of the turn. So if during an attack or whatever, you get attacked multiple times, you can Quell 1 as much as you can pay for it. And then, sometimes if you have the extra resources, this could potentially block 3 damage, 4 damage. I mean, that ends up being a lot, so it probably won't be that most of the time, but it can. And then the fact that the ability of it is an instant, you can get the value out of Quell, and then before the damage or before the destroy trigger happens, you can break this to make an Ashwing.
Well, you just blown it wide open.
Yeah, it's a little spicy.
Yeah. There was me thinking, blocks for nothing. And then you come in and just say that and just shuts me down.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card's sick. I think this card's actually going to be
Yeah.
really good and limited, like absurd.
Mhm.
Because like with a single blue pitch card, you can prevent up to 3 damage against those really go wide turns, and I think we're going to see a lot of go wide turns as we start talking about these preview cards.
Absolutely.
And then like Bill said, you can still get your value out of the Ashwing, and in like other constructed formats, the fact that it just says prevent 1 damage. Not only does it prevent like regular attacking damage and arcane damage, but it also prevents weird cases of incidental damage like Reckless Swing and Steel Blade Shunt. Like it can prevent that kind of stuff, which is pretty unique, I think.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen, stuff that prevents just any damage. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that printed, that's for sure. Just to give,
I think
just to scare people a little bit.
Quell is just a nice keyword, and it kind of fixes something that I think I touched on in one of our previous episodes, where I was like, arcane damage is kind of harder to block on average than physical damage. This, it doesn't quite fix that, but it kind of bridges the gap between the two, where it fulfills double duty as you need it. This can be, instead of just being like, oh, well, now I have to put in my Null Rune gloves against this matchup, you can still say, well, Silken Form works like during a single turn as either one. It's the flexibility, it's the choice that I really, really like here. I think this is a really elegantly designed card.
Yeah. It's like you say, it's like the thing about Arcane Barrier is that you can fuel it as many times as you like, but with Quell you get the one-off decision as to whether you want to prevent arcane or just normal damage. So it gives you that flexibility, as you say there. Yeah, so that's a good thing to raise as well. That it's a very flexible option for blocking both aspects, but only for one turn, as you said.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's good for future proofing too. If they ever decide to add a new type of damage like Radiant or Necrotic or something like that, it'll prevent that too.
Please. Yeah. Poison damage or something like that.
Yeah, poison damage.
Smelly damage. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the next card because we still got a lot to get through here. I guess it's my turn now.
Go for it.
And I'm pretty glad I got this one because one, the art is freaking gorgeous, and I gotta say that for all of the art in this set, it looks amazing. Definitely go check out all of the art of all the cards individually. They look so good. So this card is called Billowing Mirage, and this was previewed by 12 Juice, which is a YouTube channel that has like very good production quality actually, and they're very, very enthusiastic. They're kind of newer, so definitely go check them out. And this is a Draconic Illusionist attack action. This is just the red version. It costs 1 to play, attacks for 3, and has a block value of 3. It has Go Again on it. And it says, when you attack with Billowing Mirage, transform up to 1 Ash you control into an Aether Ashwing. So this is a very simple effect, but I think it'll be kind of like a bread and butter style card for Dromai, at least in Limited. I'm not sure if this is going to be constructed playable, but it's still pretty good. I mean, it's a 1 for 3 with Go Again, which isn't the best rate, but you also get a little dragon out of it too. You can immediately just follow up and slap on in with your dragon too afterwards. So it's not too bad, and it's just kind of like a good all-around, I would say like draft card on surface level, but it might make it into constructed decks. It's hard to say right now.
Yeah, I think it's great and limited because obviously it's 1 for 3, Go Again, pretty good. Make a little creature that then your opponents have to decide whether to attack the creature on your next turn and waste a card and stuff. And I think transforming these Ashwings, the more Ashwings you have, the more decisions and screwing with your opponent's plans. Ashwings turn into cards from your opponent's hand. The more you make of them. And, I think although it's common, fantastic. I think there's a lot more brewing under the surface, but I'm sure we'll see more as well.
Yeah. I mean, just super base level, like just surface level, you have Dromai, and you have, say, 1 Ash and 1 Aether Ashwing. You play this card, you transform your Aether Ash or your Ash into an Aether Ashwing, and since you played a red card, it'll trigger Dromai's ability to give all your dragons Go Again, so then you can just slam on in with all of your dragons afterwards.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the interesting thing about these cards, and we have been sort of taking a lot of time to discuss the new mechanics and stuff like that, but it will we'll get a little bit quicker as these go on. But for in terms of actually evaluating these cards, you look at this on its face and you're like, oh well, it's a 1 cost attack for 3 with Go Again. Like that's it's not exactly a card that is at a rate that you would consider competitive. But the fact that it also then creates a token that can attack for 1 over multiple turns potentially, even at its immediate impact, this is a 1-cost attack for 4 as long as you have an Ash, which is, very likely that you will have an Ash because of Dromai's ridiculous effect of how to make Ashes.
I have a judge question for you, Bill.
Yeah.
So, this is going to get into some timing rules. Okay, so Dromai says whenever you pitch a red card, create an Ash token, right? And then this card says when you attack with Billowing Mirage, transform up to 1 Ash you control into an Aether Ashwing. If you have 0 Ash on the board and pitch a red card to play Billowing Mirage, will you be able to transform the Ash that Dromai creates off of her hero ability into an Aether Ashwing from Billowing Mirage's effect?
I would have to double check exactly what the setup for attacking is, but my first instinct is no, just because of how you declare an attack. You would put the attack on the chain first, and then pay for it with costs or whatever. That's what I assume. If you don't have that already, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't. Again, I would have to actually look it up to make sure. But because of that, I don't believe it works that way, which makes it maybe slightly less powerful. But you're still getting the 1 for 3. It is still a red card. There are rippling effects that the deck does want to take advantage of anyway. So yeah, I think that it'll be easy enough to create an Ash before playing this in any case.
Yep, I just think
that is a very good question.
It'll probably come up not only in the world premiere events, but also in everyone's pre-releases. I guarantee this is going to come up a lot. Yeah,
yeah, I can see the judge calls now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
but yeah, I think that this card's really good. And then another one that I actually talked about previously, or at least referred to, is another way to create Ashwings in sort of a bulk way. And this is another common Rake the Embers. This was revealed by Brian Gottlieb. And it's a red pitch, Draconic Illusionist action for 1 resource, blocks for 2. And it says, create an Ash token, then transform up to 3 Ash you control into Aether Ashwings. And then this has go again. So this is, again, one of the ways where you can make Ash relatively easily just by playing the game with Dromai and pitching red cards. And then you can use something like Rake the Embers, even if you only have, for this one, because of how it's worded, if you only have 2, you can still make 3 because you create the Ash token first, and then you transform up to 3 Ash you control. So... this is technically here. This is a 1-cost, attack for 3, quote unquote. But then it also, of course, gives all of your other dragons go again as well. I think that this is, I think it's deceptively powerful.
It's just a space that we haven't explored yet as well. Transforming these 3 little Ashwings. Then every sort of subsequent turn after that, if they don't deal with them, they're just going to spawn more and more and more and more. And as you say, going back to what we said at the start, token strategy is something we haven't had to deal with yet. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I can definitely see Dromai being one of those classes that really likes going first. Just being able to create a bunch of little dudes right off the bat seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed when I first started playing Flesh and Blood is there weren't many strategies except for, kind of rune chants with the rune blades, but there aren't many strategies that create a board state that have permanence.
Yeah.
Again, okay, so there is rune blade and then there's also illusionist, but against a ranger, each individual turn is kind of going to be this starting from the same point. Whereas against Dromai here, if you haven't dealt with her Ashwings that she created on previous turns, then you have to deal with them again the next turn, and then again the next turn. It's sort of ramping value almost. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any tools to deal with these en masse, or if they're just going to leave us to our devices and be like, no, you have to be able to attack 5 times in a turn in order to not die.
Yeah.
First board wiping FAB coming.
Wrath of God, go.
Yeah, super interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like I like this, and I like the design space that they're going with.
Exactly.
And we actually have another one, another Ashwing creator coming up next. I think it's your turn. Is it your turn to talk about it?
Yeah, we'll go for it. Yeah, similar, same sort of vibe as what we've been speaking about. Yeah, so Skittering Sands, that's previewed by the Wraith Times. This is a 0-cost Draconic Illusionist action with Go Again. And it just says transform target Ash you control into an Aether Ashwing, and it gains +3 until end of turn.
The art on this reminds me of Aladdin with like the whatever, I forget what it's called, like the Vault of Treasures or whatever. That totally reminds me of that.
Yeah, where it's just like the gaping maw in the middle of the desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm trying to think of a quote of what it says, but
I mean, me too. My brain's like completely empty. It's like,
oh damn it!
I can't remember what he says, dude. Oh my god, dude! It's like on the tip, like
diamond in the rough or something like that. And it just turns to lava, and then he starts running away. Such an iconic scene.
Oh, that's such a good scene. Yeah, the only quotes that I can remember from Aladdin right now are just everything that Robin Williams ever said as the genie.
Yeah, God, yeah, absolute classic. Brilliant.
So, yeah, like, but again, this is another card that, on its surface, it seems like, I don't know, like it seems interesting at least. But this is a 0-cost attack for 4.
Yeah, this is 0 for
because
4.
you create the Ashwing, and then it has 1 base attack, and you give it +3. So it's a 0 for 4 with Go Again.
Yeah,
like. Yeah, that's really good. I think. Like, I don't know if my card evaluation is just like out the window right now, but these cards just seem really powerful on average.
Yeah, I think Skittering Sands is deceptively powerful because you look at it at base and you're like, oh, it's like Nimblism or whatever, 0 for +3. No. It has the attack baked into it. It is just a 0 for 4 if you have an Ash, and you'll probably have an Ash. So,
yeah, again, I think like a lot of this is predicated on you having the Ash to transform into an Ashwing, but I do think, I mean, I would have to see how Dromai plays and what the final makeup of a deck list is going to look like. If maybe you can't actually play as many reds as we think you can.
I mean,
but I think it's going to be pretty easy to have Ash on board more often than not.
I mean, so far, Dromai does not have a baked-in way to pitch. Like, her weapon doesn't have a resource cost on it, and neither do any of her hero abilities. So you'll need to have other cards to pay for pitch costs to generate the Ash. So I mean, so there's that at least.
Is there any equipment that you can just throw a pitch into that might sort of generate an Ash off her triggered ability?
Not quite yet, but I mean, if Dromai had access to tectonic plating all of a sudden, then that'd be kind of sick.
That'd be pretty gross, actually.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, let's be real, but
yeah. Are we ready for the next one?
Yes,
let's go for
yes,
the next
we
one.
are. This one, I think we it was not this one, but a couple more. I do want you to talk about yours specifically.
I will.
Yeah, that one comes in a little bit, but
so,
for now,
yeah, this one was previewed by Miss Chalice, and Alice and I actually, I saw that we had the same preview day, and I was like, hey, do you want to schedule our previews like back to back, and we'll just kind of make it into a thing? And we did, and it was a lot of fun. And
nice.
Her video, actually, you should definitely go watch it. She did a fantastic job. Her video actually reminds me a lot of my own video, which I thought was really funny because they're just like back to back. We did not even plan it at all. So her card is Red Hot with amazing artwork by Federico Musetti. It's a really interesting card. So it's a 2-cost, 4 attack, draconic attack action, and blocks for 3. So 2 for 4, base level, not a great rate. It's a Dromai or Phi specialization, so it's a dual hero specialization, which is really interesting. So I think this is the first one we've ever had that does that. And it has one of the new keyword mechanics that we'll see going forward. And you see this on a lot of like generic and ninja cards, I think, so far. But it says, if Red Hot is played as Chain Link 4 or higher, that's kind of what Rupture does. It cares about Chain Link 4 or higher. It has, when you attack with this, reveal the top X cards of your deck, where X is the number of draconic chain links you control. Deal damage equal to the number of red cards revealed this way to any target, which includes allies, then shuffle. So this is a really, really interesting card. The rate isn't great. The 2 for 4 isn't great. But the Rupture triggers when you attack, not when it hits. So it doesn't really need to hit. And it really heavily incentivizes that you have a lot of draconic attacks in your turn. So it cares about draconic chain links, which are just, you know, the previous draconic attacks in your chain. And it also cares about red cards again, right? So it says where X is the number, deal damage equal to the number of red cards revealed this way. So once again, it also cares about red cards. So if this is chain link 4, you can reveal at least 3 and then deal damage to any number of targets. To any target. All the damage goes to one target. Yeah, all the damage goes to one target. So you can't split them and, you know, machine gun down all of the little ash wings, but you can kill one of them. Or just
maybe that's coming soon.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's cool. It's cool though. Yeah, I really like it. The fact it's got Dromai or fire on it is, you know, it tailors into both of their strategies, because, you know, when you add something to the chain link, you do add a ash wing to the chain link. Is that right, Bill?
Sorry, what?
When you attack with like a Aether Ashwing, do you add it to the chain?
Yes, yes, you do. So Aether Ashwings do count as draconic chain links, which can make this kind of gross if you're able to make a ridiculous amount of them. But
so it plays into both strategies there as well. So obviously you can attack with your dragons if you're Dromai, or you can attack with all your aggro ninja attacks if you're Fi, and still get the payoff at the end with the rupture, which I think is awesome. I love the fact that just, you know, they're errataing, well, not errataing, but sort of formatting the these things as well to deal damage to any target, which obviously works in multiplayer, potential PvE in the future as well, and obviously the allies that are coming out in the set. So yeah, I do like that formatting.
Yeah. Also, this card's just a rare. I didn't mention that. It's not a majestic or anything. It's just a rare. So I think this will be a good pickup in limited, like for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's interesting because if the deck does end up being constructed in a way where you do want to lean really heavily into reds, and you know it's likely that you hit 3 or 4 cards, or 3 or 4 red cards off of the trigger here, then this is a 2-cost attack for 7 or 8. Which, like, to end a big chain is kind of crazy.
Yeah, this seems great. Yeah, it just seems great.
Nice. Speaking of Rupture, we've got another card here, previewed by Melody Likes on Twitter. This is Lava Burst. And again, this has got the Rupture keyword. It's 0 attack, Draconic action, attack, blocks for 3. And it just says if it's played as Chain Link 4 or higher, it has +3. So again, just a nice little finisher on a large chain link. And this is a common card as well. So
yeah, like a 0-cost attack for 5 when you're able to actually trigger the Rupture is good. Like, that's a good rate for 5 damage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the art is awesome as well. Just like Lava Burst. It's like Brian from Tekken, just like bang right at the end.
It does. 0 for 2 isn't great, but if you can get that Rupture, it's pretty good. I'm very curious to see how people rate this card in draft, in particular. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It definitely is, like, pretty dependent on how easy it is to actually get to Rupture. Like, if it's consistent enough that you could get to a Rupture trigger like every turn, then I think that this is pretty good as long as you can sequence your turn properly. But yeah, like, if you can't get to Rupture like reliably every turn, then some of these cards obviously lose that extra value of, maybe more often than not, this Lava Burst is literally just a 0-cost attack for 2 without go again.
Yeah.
Like, it's very dependent on how the set sort of shakes out as a whole. I do think that because of Phoenix Flame, which we haven't talked about yet, actually, I just realized, but because of things like Phoenix Flame, which we will be getting to, it may be slightly more likely than not that you can get Chainlink 4 or higher, which is kind of scary.
There's a lot of 0-cost stuff in here, which we'll obviously see, won't we? So
hey, speaking of 0-cost stuff, the next card. So the next card is my own preview card, Burn Them All, and I'm really excited to talk about this card. I love this card on many different levels. So let's just say what it is. So Burn Them All is a 0-cost majestic draconic illusionist action aura. and it blocks for 3. So it's a 0-cost aura that also has Go Again. So it's not one of those other illusionist auras that you just play and that's it. This one has Go Again. And it also says, once per turn, when a dragon you control attacks, it deals 1 arcane damage to each opposing hero. So I'm going to unpack that a little bit. I love it. It really incentivizes attacking with dragons in general. It's only once per turn, right? So it'll only trigger once per turn, but it hits all opposing heroes, so it's obviously fantastic in multiplayer formats. It's amazing in Ultimate Pit Fight because it splits damage among everyone. But also just in constructed formats, Blitz and Classic Constructed, and even I think is going to be disgusting in Limited. It just does incidental arcane damage, and we all know how good that is in classes like Runeblade. This is like having Sting of Sorcery for all of your dragon, like at least once per turn for all of your dragons, or at least for one of your dragons. So it's just going to whittle your opponent down, and it's just going to, add that extra damage there. And it does say at the beginning of your end phase, you put a reyes counter on Burn Them All, and then destroy it unless you banish a red card from your graveyard for each reyes counter on it. So that's a pretty flavorful here. It basically, the card burns itself out, right? So you need to keep banishing red cards from your graveyard. So, by either attacking with red cards, putting them in your graveyard, or blocking with red cards and putting them in your graveyard. So once again, really cares about that red strategy here. The art is awesome. It's done by the same artist that did Timekeeper's Whim, Riordan Del Miro. And also it's a Game of Thrones reference. So I love this card. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Another thing as well is you can stack these. You can play. You could have 3 of these out, which is ludicrous.
As
long as you get to the late game, you just banish. You're banishing a lot of cards from your graveyard. But you get to your late game, if you save all these up, you use. You pitch them. Early to fuel your Ashwings or whatever they are, and then you bring these out late game, mid late game. You're just burning people out. And they can't do anything about it every time a dragon attacks. So stacking these up is going to be horrible to deal with as well.
It's a 0-cost card, so it's just very easy to play and has Go Again. So it'll immediately trigger
0-cost red card with Go Again.
Exactly. Exactly. So I do think this card will see some play. Definitely like 100% Ultimate Pit Fight, but also maybe in other formats too. Especially as like a card in control decks, I think this could be really, really good.
At first, I'm not going to lie to you, when I first read this card, and this has happened to me for a few cards that have been revealed so far. When I first read it, I was like, isn't this just Dimensional Crossroads? That one Shadow Runeblade card that has always felt like kind of underwhelming. And again, not a dig on you or the card, but I reread it, and because my first instinct when I was looking at it was because of the reyes counter system, I was like, this is kind of like Channel. And I was like, well, channels don't really get to stick around all that much. And then I realized I had that realization, like that click, where I was like, wait a second, it's not from your pitch zone, it's from your graveyard.
Yeah.
And like as said, if you were able to set this up for your second cycle, like usually during the end of the game, your graveyard has like 30 cards in it. So this actually doesn't disappear all that fast. If you're able to get multiples of them in the late game, like this is just, crazy incidental damage. And I looked through the dragons that we'd seen so far just to see if this actually interacts, but so far it doesn't. But it does also say, the way it's templated is the dragon that attacks deals the arcane damage. So if there are dragons that are revealed that have on damage triggers, this allows those to trigger, which is like very scary potentially.
I mean, just for math, you only need 6 red cards in your graveyard for this to last 3 turns. Channel cards last for maybe 2 at most, and 6 is not too hard to get in your bin, even like mid game. So I
think it's pretty easy for these to stick around for longer than people would anticipate. So I think this card has a lot of potential on it.
And it also could force your opponent into deciding whether they play with Arcane Bear or not against Illusionist. And that's typically not a thing that you do, and you might have to. So I think it's
that's
really
an interesting consideration as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of just weird considerations in terms of having to play defensively, I really like this next card. This is
Me
actually the
too.
Team Covenant preview and I believe the promo that they're sending out with their pre-orders.
It is, yeah.
Sand cover. So it's this card is really weird. I had to reread it a couple times to sort of really drink it in. But it's a red pitch, 0 cost, Draconic Illusionist instant. So it doesn't have an attack or defense value. And it just says target Ash you control gains Ward 4 until end of turn. And what Ward is, another keyword that we've seen similar to Quell, where if your hero would be dealt damage, prevent 4 of that damage and destroy this. So it like kind of turns anything into what's that one card from Arc? Enchanting Melody?
Oh yeah. Except Enchanting Melody costs 2 to play.
Yeah, it costs 2. This costs 0.
Yeah, this is 0 and an instant. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that this card is kind of crazy. Again, it is like I've said with a couple of these things, dependent on how easy it is to actually have a mass of ash as Dromai. But if you can, then this is just another type of Fate Foreseen or Sink Below, where it just prevents 4 damage. And because it's an instant and not a defense reaction, if you really need to, you can burn this just to give your dragons go again. You can just play it as an instant.
Yeah.
It just gives you a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I really love the flexibility. I love this especially in Blitz and UPF, because those are formats where you don't quote sideboard, where like just being able to prevent 4 of any damage is very important. So it doesn't matter if you're going up against a wizard or a guardian, you can prevent 4 damage no matter what, which I really, really like. Yeah, I think this card's sweet.
This can just going on to this one again quickly. It says target Ash you control gains Ward 4 until end of turn. So that's a way of also defending your dragons, right?
No. Well,
because
no.
a Ward
because,
4 only cares if your hero would be dealt damage.
Yes. Yeah.
I see. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So far, allies, as far as we know, allies are kind of left to their own devices.
Yeah.
If they get attacked, then you
target
just
Ash.
have to.
Maybe I'm missing.
Yes.
Maybe I'm just being thick.
Well, because the ash is the object that gets the keyword Ward 4, and then Ward as a keyword means if your hero would be dealt damage, then Ward triggers, you prevent 4 of that damage, and then you destroy the ash that you targeted.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It
basically
basically allows you to sacrifice it to prevent 4 damage.
Yeah, it turns your Ash into like a buffed up like spectral shield or something.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, really, really interesting space that they're going with here.
Yeah.
And then, so we're now, I think, mostly just getting into the Phi reveals, like the stuff that's sort of ninja-ish. And just to kick that off, we are going to be starting with Phi. I believe you can talk about this one. I think it's your turn.
Cool. Yeah. So we spoke about Phoenix Flames. This is the guy that sort of starts with 1 as such. So it's a standard hero, 4 intellect, 40 health, or blitz, 20 health. You may start the game with a Phoenix Flame in your graveyard. What's a Phoenix Flame? So a Phoenix Flame is a draconic action attack. It costs 0 to play. It's red pitch, of course, and it attacks for nothing to begin with. But it says if you control 2 or more draconic chain links, Phoenix Flame has +1 and it has go again inherently. So you start on one of those in your graveyard. And Phi says once per turn instant, you can pay 3 and you can return a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard, obviously the one you've put there to begin with, to your hand. Or other Phoenix Flames you put there previously. This ability costs 1 less for each draconic chain link you control. So yes, lots of draconic chain links for benefit, because obviously if you play lots of draconic chain links, your Phoenix Flames will obviously be actually attacking for something, and obviously you'll be able to activate your instant for cheaper because you'll have more things on the chain link. So just lots going on with Phi.
Yeah. I love the fact that you can get the Phoenix Flame back from your graveyard for 0 if you have 3 chain links, and then you can use the Phoenix Flame to pitch because it still has pitch value. if you need to pay for a card.
Yeah.
So even if you don't need to attack with it, you can still use it to pitch, which is pretty cool. I think
in that way it kind of turns Fi into a tunic sometimes.
Kind of, yeah. He's built-in
Kinda
tunic,
crazy.
except his is on fire.
Yeah, fiery. It's
Iron
the summer
Dow's summer
tunic.
tunic.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. You
both did it
both
then,
went for it. I should note that Phoenix Flames can't block, so there's no other advantage. Like, you can't keep getting him back to block. He's all aggro. Fi wants to go wide, not to block with his Phoenixes.
Yeah. So when we were talking about the fact that I had a reveal that actually interacts with Phoenix Flames, I got the Phoenix Flame and my reveal card, or our reveal card for the Spike Feeders, and I was looking at it. I was looking at Phoenix Flame, and without any other context, this is before I had seen any other spoiler card for Uprising. I was looking at it and I was like, why is this card so bad? Because the version that we got didn't say that it was a token. Spoilers. We got the promo version of it, so it didn't indicate that it was a token of any variety. We just saw that it was this red cost attack, whatever. So I was looking at it. I was like, okay, so it pitches for 1. It costs 0. It attacks for 0, sometimes for 1, and cannot defend. And I was like, why does this card do like absolutely nothing? And I was like, wait a second, what if we're going to have Phoenix Flames as like an engine where it's something that you can recur relatively frequently, use this to get your chain links up. So, for rupture triggers and stuff, this, as Kel said, if you have 3 draconic chain links, you can activate 5 for free, get the Phoenix Flame back to your hand. That can be your 4th attack to trigger your next rupture thing. Yeah. So that can sort of get you over that threshold to start, doing some pretty crazy stuff. This is, I think we've said this multiple times so far, just talking about the other reveals, but this is another thing that Flesh and Blood just hasn't done before. It's like creating this case where these specific cards act really intricately as the fuel for an engine for the deck to run.
Yeah. Did we also mention that in limited you just get 3 if you want them?
No, we didn't. But yeah, because they are tokens, if you want Phoenix Flames, they act like... I keep saying they act like cracked baubles, but that has caused some confusion. So Phoenix Flames are tokens that are playable cards that you can have in your deck. So they're not things that are created from other things like Spectral Shield tokens or Quicken tokens. But they also aren't the same type of token as a cracked bauble, because cracked baubles have the specific wording. You can have as many of these in your deck as you want while building your deck. Phoenix Flames are just a regular attack that happens to be token rarity, but also because of that, if you are playing a deck in limited that has Phoenix Flames, you can just say, hey, I need Phoenix Flames, and they can give you 3 of them. Like, you don't have to specifically draft them or have them opened at the table, which is really cool for limited decks.
Yeah. One thing I was very curious about when I first saw Phoenix Flames, I was like, hey, how is this going to work at the world premiere event? Is everyone just going to get handed 3 Phoenix Flames? And James White actually responded to my Twitter post, and he said that every pack of Uprising comes with 2 token cards. So you should have plenty of them in your sealed pool. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that they actually came with 2 tokens per pack, but it seems like the set's going to need it. There's a crap load of tokens.
Yeah, there's lots going on in this set, because I mean, we have Ash, which is its own token, and then the Ash Wings that go on top, which are a second token.
Yep, and then the Phoenix Flames, and then who knows what else.
Yeah, but so far I'm really excited for it.
I think it's going to be sweet.
As you said, it is very much going on the token strategy, as you said earlier. So yeah, it makes sense that they're including multiples in their packs, definitely. We got a spicy one next. We got another. Speaking of tokens, we got another token here. Well, not a token, but ally.
Yes.
Wants to go for it. This one's all.
This one is interesting because I don't think we saw the invoke side of this card.
No.
This is
just saw the ally version.
Yeah. So this is the dragon, Tomultai. This is the one that has like the big. I don't know how to describe it. Like this chasm in its stomach with fire spewing out of it.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about the ally side. Presumably there's an invoke side. It probably costs a lot to play because this is a 5 attack and 5 health ally. So I assume this costs quite a bit, and it probably has the same kind of effect where you transform an Ash into Tumultai. And what it says, whenever Tumultai attacks a hero, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. If 1 or more red cards are revealed this way, once again, we keep seeing this red card mechanic, put that many -1 counters on an equipment they control, your opponent. Then, if it has 0 defense, destroy it. So it just, whittles down your opponent's equipment and destroys some of it. This insta gives Spring Tunics if you reveal a red card. So pretty sweet. I would also be willing to bet that this dragon, much like Dominia, is a legendary dragon in that you can only have 1 in your deck. 100%. I would bet money on that. So yeah, this is a beast.
I think so. Like having this in multiples would be pretty impressive.
It also just seems like it's a named big scary dragon. I think it's a legendary one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I love the fact that it just interacts with. I think we need maybe more stuff that interacts with people's equipments and stuff. Yeah, I do absolutely 100%. Love it, especially when people hide behind their legendaries, and it's just like, right, okay, I'm going to destroy your legendaries now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then that people might get salty about it, but I just love that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if Starvo was still a thing, imagine being able to get out a Tumultai and then pop their crown of seeds.
Yeah.
See, dude. Yeah. I don't know if you guys watched it, but there was a game at the Pro Tour on coverage where that happened. Not with Tumultai, but with the elemental card, the fusion one, where you could kind of do what Tumultai does, put a -1 counter and then destroy
exposed
it.
to the elements.
Yeah, someone blew up a crown of seeds and put a -1 on the shield. I think. I think that's what they did. It was like backbreaking.
Dirty.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, some people hide behind their equipment, don't they? And having this interaction with equipment, I think, is another space that they'll probably, explore in the future. But this is just, pure visceral dragon that would destroy a piece of armor. Looking at it, you rip that crown of seeds right off Bravo's head, wouldn't they?
I mean, in the
Let's
art,
be honest, a bunch of leaves on the head is not going to prevent Tumultai from ripping through it.
Yeah, in the art, he's holding like the top of like a tower or something in one of his claws. You can Photoshop that into like a crown of seeds or something.
You could do, yeah. Bravo's head and Tumultai's mouth.
Yeah,
I love it.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Who's up next to talk about Uprising?
I think we've been talking about Uprising the whole podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? But also,
yeah. I think this one's Kel that gets the honor of talking about this one.
Well, I just did Tumultai, but I can talk about this one too.
Oh, did you? Maybe it's my turn. Maybe, or I don't remember.
I can just go because
it's a nice easy one.
Dalen Mack is this card was spoiled by Dalen Mack, who is a friend of mine. He's a great dude. He's a football player who loves Flesh and Blood, and he's fantastic at it. His preview card is Uprising, not the set, but the name Uprising, which is a first for Flesh and Blood, naming a card after the set. But this card is sweet. So this is a 0-cost draconic action, blocks for 3. It has Go Again, and it simply says, your next 4 draconic attacks this turn gain +1. So, synergizes with that Rupture if you're going to be coming in with a bunch of stuff. I immediately saw this before I saw any other Ninja cards at all. So I saw this and I'm just like, yep, all my dragons are coming in for 2 this turn. Like all my little tokens are coming in for 2. I think this card's sweet. The fact that it costs 0 and is also red pitch and also blocks. I like all of that stuff the same way I like it for Burn Them All, because if you're playing a lot of red pitch cards, you want a lot of cards that cost nothing, so you don't get too taxed on your resources. So this card's great. I think it's great.
Yeah. Fantastic. And speaking about tokens again, referencing Magic, this is like an anthem effect for all of your in this game. Obviously you got the ash wings and all your chain links and stuff. It's basically an anthem effect for all of your cards in these strategies, which I think is, again, it's a first for that as well.
Yeah. It's one of the scary things actually about this sort of effect that is something that actually took me a little while to sort of grasp fully. But the throwing back to how I was evaluating some other cards, where you can look at this and you can say, oh well, like, technically this is a 0 cost attack for 4. Like, if you're able to utilize all of it to its full advantage, then it adds 4 extra damage on its own. But the thing when you're talking about individual attack buffs is sometimes it creates really awkward breakpoints for blocking.
Yeah, it does.
And sometimes that can be even more valuable. Like, for something like, I'm sure you guys both are aware, like, have you ever had a really easy turn with rain razors?
Oh, yeah.
And it just creates the most awkward blocking scenarios for your opponent, because you're attacking in with, even if it was, let's say, like a lighted up for 4, now that becomes 6. Like, it's technically the same breakpoint where they have to block with 2 cards, but if any one of their cards that they want to throw away is a block for 2, suddenly they can't actually block it anymore. Or, an attack for 5 becomes 7, and that's just the next breakpoint up. Like, obviously we're not going to be seeing that much difference in terms of going from like a 2 block to 3 block breakpoint. But even if you're attacking with something that normally has an attack of 3 and now it's for 4, like, it's stuff like that just makes things really, really awkward for your opponent. And I think that this presents a lot of that sort of opportunity. Even if you're attacking with your Ashwings for 1, making them attack for double, like doubling the next 4 Ashwing attacks this turn, is still really good.
And this card does say draconic attacks, so it affects the tokens, it affects your Phoenix Flames, it'll affect your weapon. If like Phi has a draconic weapon, it'll affect that too. So like, this is a good one, I think.
Very, very applicable, very widely applicable.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, just like coming in for 1 with your Phoenix Flames when they normally come in with 0 is not nothing too, right? Like, it makes the Phoenix Flames actually, like, you're a threat. So
especially when you're playing like as a ninja or against a ninja, you do not want to get into Kodachi range. Like, when you're at maybe less than 4 or 3 health, any attack becomes deadly because you can potentially raise a reflex. And even if you attack with a Phoenix Flame for 0, maybe your opponent wants to call the bluff and they instead block with a card from their hand that has 3 defense. Okay, well, I didn't do anything with that, so you just waste. And speaking of awkward, our next card here was revealed by FabDB. Much love to FabDB. I'm actually one of their patrons and very happy to be.
Absolutely.
And of course, my opinion of FabDB does not reflect my opinion of this card, but let's get into it. It is Liquefy, a red pitch 1 cost draconic attack reaction with 2 defense, and its text is Rupture. If Liquefy is played at chain link 4 or higher, target attack action card gains when this hits a hero, put a -1 defense counter on an equipment they control. Then if it has 0 defense, destroy it. So immediately what comes to mind for me is like half or sort of like Shatter in sort of the same area of card utility as something like Shatter from Everfest. It is also kind of half of Tomaltai's ability. But in general, I think that this card is just maybe a little bit too clunky. I would love to be proven wrong, because I think this effect is something that Flesh and Blood kind of needs, like interaction with equipment and stuff. But the fact that, this costs 1, it has to be played at chain link 4 or higher for it to have an effect. It doesn't have... If you can play it before Rupture is active, but it doesn't actually do anything. Every part of its text box is predicated on you being at chain link 4 or higher, and the attack still has to hit the hero. So you're a little bit more flexible because it is an attack reaction, but I think it maybe is just slightly too clunky. I think there's too many roadblocks on this for this to be as good as I want it to be.
Agreed. I think this was the first card I saw for the whole spoiler season where I was just like, the art looks amazing. Mark Poole does a great job, but this doesn't seem very good. This doesn't seem very good. Like, when are you gonna play this? You need to have this card plus a resource plus 4 attacks going. Like, that's like 6 total, pseudo cards. Depending on how you got your resource to pay for this, but still, like, it's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's
Like
like a sideboard maybe against equipment that hasn't been seen yet or something. I don't know.
Even then, man, like you have to go really wide and then also have this card to play. And then it also has to hit. At least like Tumultai is not an on hit. It's just like when it attacks, it does the thing.
Yeah, it's an on attack, which is very different. I think maybe the one saving grace that I can see for this is that Ashwings do count as Draconic Chainlinks.
Yeah.
And actually, this isn't Draconic Chainlinks. It is just Chainlink 4 or higher.
Well,
so there's a little bit of extra flexibility.
This doesn't work with Ashwings because this says target attack action card.
Yes, but the first 3, or however many, except for the last one, you can buff up your Chainlink count with the Ashwings, and then use this on an attack.
So you can do 3 Ashwings and then an a Draconic attack action card.
It's still a lot of hoops, but...
It's a lot of hoops, yeah, and I will throw a positive interaction in here as well with Phi's ability. The once per turn instant, you can obviously pay 3 to return a Phoenix Flame to your hand. This ability costs 1 less for each Draconic Chainlink you control. If you return a thing to your hand, you could use that to then play this card at the end. But that's pretty much the only thing I can think of that actually would work.
Yeah,
again, I would love to be proven wrong.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Bill. I agree with Bill. It feels clunky, and the payoff isn't worth the clunkiness. It's like it's good, but it's not like that good, you know?
No.
Yeah. But speaking of that good, we have basically the exact opposite, in my opinion. With basically this set's Swarming Gloomveil in terms of just a generically good attack. That gets better depending on how you've played the game up to this point. But since I talked about Liquefy, Az, why don't you introduce us to Phoenix Form?
Cool, yeah. So this is a Draconic Ninja action. So obviously for Phi at the moment, this costs 0 to play. It blocks for 3 and attacks for 3. And it says if you control 1 or more Phoenix Flames, Phoenix Form has Go Again. So that's highly likely. So a 0 for 3 with Go Again. Highly likely if you're playing a lot of Phoenix Flames. If you control 2 or more, it has +2. So it becomes a 0 for 5.
Pretty good.
Much better rate. And then if you control 3 or more, it has when this hits a hero, draw 3 cards.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And hang on, can you indulge me for a second? Is drawing 3 cards good in this game?
Yeah, it's the best part.
Drawing 1 card would be good. Drawing 3 cards is disgusting.
Yeah, it's nuts. So the main thing that I've seen about this is people are kind of concerned that there isn't a way to trigger that last one in Blitz currently. But to them, I say even in Blitz, you can still have this be a 0 cost attack for 5 with Go Again.
Yeah,
it's still really good.
A 0 for 5 with Go Again is like absurdly good rates. So yeah.
Like it's kind of Enlightened Strike, obviously there's more benefits to Enlightened Strike. It's not an exact comparison, but for that, cost to damage ratio, it's kind of Enlightened Strike,
Yeah.
This is
I didn't actually think of that actually at all. The Blitz thing, the fact that you can't control 3 or more. Yeah, that's an interesting point. What was you going to say, Cam?
Same for UPF. No, I was going to say this card basically reads, if you have 3 Phoenix Flames, your opponent must block this card. That's basically what it says.
Yeah. It kind of gives it the opposite of Dominate. You have to block this, otherwise you will absolutely lose the game.
Like seriously, if you are playing against Phi in Classic Constructed, you save your equipment to block this card. That's basically what you're doing. Unless you're gonna die or you really need to use it elsewhere, you block this one.
Yeah, this is Spring Tidings, but it doesn't have as high of a ceiling, but it's very consistent, I think. As long as the ability to have 3 or more Phoenix Flames is as consistent as I think it is, which I do think it will be pretty consistent.
It'll be
depending on how much extra support they'll have.
It'll be really interesting to see how easy it'll be to get 3. 1 is basically guaranteed with Phi, but 2 you'll have to draw into another one. And then 3, it just seems tricky. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see, how people set this up between their arsenal, 1 in the graveyard using Phi's once per turn instant ability to get it back, and then maybe 1 in your hand. I'm very interested to see how often this card procs.
Actually,
it
to
seems
that
super
note,
sick.
I would like to invite you to talk about our next card and maybe revisit that that school of thought that you're on right now.
Yes.
That train of thought.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to say that I was leading into it, but there's this card and there's another card too that... Okay, so the next card is called Inflame. It was previewed by Bronson, and this is a very interesting card for a couple different reasons. So this is a 0-cost card. It's a draconic attack action. It blocks for 2, so that's kind of interesting right there. Blocks for 2 is an attack action. It only attacks for 1, and it's a red pitch. And I'll talk about that in a second, but let's talk about its effect. So it says, when you attack with Inflame, if you've played another red card this turn, you may return a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard to your hand. Go again. So this is an interesting card for like the exact reasons we talked about, like getting those Phoenix Flames into your hand so you can have a big turn with maybe like a Phoenix Form or just your generic Rupture shenanigans. Fi has a ability to get one back on his own. Inflame, you'll have to have played another red card anyway, but this just costs 0. I think one of the most interesting things about this card to me, just in terms of set collation and the design, is that it's a red pitch card that doesn't feel like it's modular in terms of being a yellow and blue. I don't know if this card will be printed as yellow or blue. I don't know where they could alter it down. So I honestly feel like this is one of those cards that, it's a common, by the way. It's not a majestic, so it might be one of those very, very few commons that only gets one color printing. And with an effect this strong, I can see why, right? Because it's a red pitch card, 0, only attacks for 1, but you get your Phoenix Flame back. And it's not an on hit, it's just when you attack with it. So
and it can obviously, like very obviously, contributes to the amount of draconic chain links you have just on its own.
It basically is
it's
chain
kind
link
of
2.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like kind of the nuts thing, is if you're triggering this, you have likely played another red card, which is maybe, another draconic chain link. So you go that card into Inflame, into Phoenix Flame, that's already 3 draconic chain links, which then you can activate 5 for free. To get another Phoenix Flame back to your hand. Like there's some crazy stuff that I think you'll be able to do if you're able to sequence properly.
That's what I like about it as well. The combo is a keyword, obviously, on old ninjas, but it feels very combo-y still, but it's just interacting with your graveyard in a different way. So I think the theming of it, with the Phoenix rising from the ashes and the Draconic Ninja and all that sort of thing, is bang on with this design space, I think.
I really like it more than combo. Combo feels a little parasitic. This does not. This is like, I mean, it kind of does with the Phoenix Flame stuff, but it's like you have more options. Like it's not just like you can only play Whelming Gust Wave as the next card to get this bonus. It's just like, no, it does some good stuff. I really like it.
Yeah, so I like what that sort of implies for Phoenix Flame strategies as a whole.
Yeah. And we've got more Phoenix Flame recursion here. I'll just jump in with this one. This is Flameborn Retribution. Costs 1 to play. It's a draconic action attack. Blocks for 2 and attacks for 3. It does have go again. But it does say when you defend with it, so when you use the 2 defense with it, if you've been dealt damage this turn already, you may return a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard to your hand. So again, just more of that returning stuff to your hand, potentially on, obviously, your defending turn, to then crack back with more draconic chain links with your Phoenix Flames or whatever you want to do with those on your turn when it comes back round. So yeah, like that.
Yeah, I really like the design space of getting effects when you defend with cards. We saw a little bit of that at the Classic Battles, and I think it's a really interesting and cool design space. So I'm really excited to see them do more with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. This, even though this was the card that we at the Spike Feeders spoiled, I do think that maybe this specific iteration of it is a little too clunky. It may be better than I'm anticipating, especially with the amount of one attack things that we're going to be seeing, especially like from Dromai with Ether Ashwings and stuff. So, if Dromai attacks with one of them and then attacks with another one, this is kind of a free block for 2 because it replaces itself with a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard. So it's interesting. I like it a lot. And it's another piece of being able to recur Phoenix Flames, which I think is going to be absolutely paramount for the deck in general. But yeah, I will say personally, when we got our preview cards in, we got the token Phoenix Flame and we got a copy of Flameborn Retribution, and I was way more excited about Phoenix Flame.
Yeah.
Still really, really cool, but yeah,
I mean, like
Phoenix Flame in general is just, it creates so many possibilities in my head.
yeah. I mean, and you're not wrong about Flameboard Retribution. I think in limited against like Phi and against Dromai, I think it could be really cool. But I mean, if you're playing constructed against Guardian, good luck getting value out of this, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to be able to trigger that that possibility, because they're just going to be crunching in for 11.
Yeah.
I want to say as well, I jumped into that card and I realised on the notes I put obviously spikes and it's your card, and I've completely forgot to shout you out, Bill. I'm so sorry.
Okay, it's all right.
Y'all should go.
I totally understand.
Y'all should go watch the video, by the way, if you haven't already,
Absolutely.
because they're doing this really cool, like, I don't know if this is going to continue to be a thing. I guess maybe Bill can speak on it, but they're all like video game things, and I really dig it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be cool to see where they go with what you guys do, if you get to branch off into the 3D video games or
Polygons and all sorts. Because at the moment it's like sort of 8-bit Sega Genesis style. Do we go to polygon models and stuff next? Tune into the spike feeders to find out.
Yeah, at some point we're just going to become a game design studio all on our own.
Absolutely,
I'll
yeah.
play
That's
that,
the
man.
dream.
Sign me up. I'll beta test your game. Let's do it.
Yeah, we've just at this point, I don't know, we've kind of just made it almost a habit to think about it as like, oh, we can make this into like an 8-bit thing. We started it off with some of our Magic content, and then for our first preview card, we were like, we can just make this into like a cool, like, kind of hokey, but in like a way where you're, it's nostalgic in a way where it's like you're thinking about those old like, the really old games that have the really crappy, like pixelated, real life video to make it seem like, more realistic, but it just looks weird. And
like
it's charming. So we just really like that as a whole. Yeah. We just really like that sort of aesthetic as a whole. And it's been working out well for us. And thank you for liking it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Whose turn is it to talk about the next card?
Definitely not mine because I screwed it up.
It might be mine. I don't know. I'll just go.
No, I think it's mine because you did talk about Inflame. So yeah, I will talk about Rise from the Ashes, which was Sloop Dupe's spoiler. This card, I was actually, when we were talking about Inflame, I sort of scrolled down and I was like, wait a second, this also works with the framework that I was thinking. So before I get into that, this is another red pitch. All of these have been red pitch so far, but another red pitch, Draconic Ninja action. So specifically for Phi, it costs 0 and it defends for 2. And it reads, the next Draconic or Ninja attack action you play this turn gets +3. And also says you may return a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard to your hand with Go Again. So yeah, this is another one of those things that this one specifically, out of all the ones that we've talked about so far, this one actually very easily lends itself to be in more of a cycle. So, you could see this as a yellow and a blue, just giving your next attack +2 and +1 for those versions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which means you have this card that is a pretty easy way to recycle your Phoenix Flames, and also give incidental buffs and stuff. It doesn't contribute to your chain links because it's a non-attack action, but still just being able to get the Phoenix Flames back in a really consistent manner, I think is going to be what makes or breaks this strategy. So seeing something like this is a really good sign.
Yeah, I see this card and I'm like, I want to play blue versions of this card in my decks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is perfect for blue because, like, I don't think I'll care that much about the losing the +2, but getting the extra resources to fuel all this crap that I'm trying to do would be good because everything else is red. So yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
And also some of my
colors.
favorite art in the set.
Yeah. This is just out of, I can't read the last name and I forget what it is, but we've talked about them before, right?
Who I have to enhance?
Oh, the artist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know how to pronounce their name. I'm so bad at this.
Jisada Suthi?
It's like
Suti.
Suti.
Yeah. I think that's how you would pronounce that. But yeah, we've seen her or their art before and it's phenomenal always.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
That art was previewed a long time ago, wasn't it? As well, that silver-haired ninja. I believe we've seen it for a while. And
I was
everyone
really
like,
hoping it'd
who's
be a
this
character.
Yeah. Oh well, but yeah, pretty
Someday.
cool. And as you say, yeah, it's obviously fuels the engine, so that's good.
Big fan.
We got a massive dragon again now.
Oh yeah, so this one's a cool dragon.
Yeah.
Sort of pun intended. A lot of people saw the art for this and they thought it was an ice dragon. Turns out, no, it's still a draconic illusionist dragon ally. So I'll talk about the invoke side first, or the invocation side. This is Invoke Asvali. This card is previewed by the Radbrad, very popular YouTuber content creator who doesn't really make Flesh and Blood content, but he loves Flesh and Blood, which is really cool. And this is a 0-cost Draconic Illusionist action. This one is not a legendary, in that you can have 3 of them in your deck. Also, we don't know the rarity of this card because we only see the special treatment version of it here. So I'm not sure what the rarity is here. But it has the same mechanic: transform target Ash you control into Asvali, go again. And the dragon side, it's a 2-power, 3 health Draconic Illusionist dragon ally. And I really like this one because it says whenever Asvali attacks, you may have him deal 1 arcane damage to up to any 2 targets. So you get to split some damage here. You can kill off your opposing like Ash Wings. Like, yeah, this is cool. I really like this effect.
Yeah, it's great in the mirror match, isn't it? When you're facing other dragons that might have accumulated, you can stack your deck full of these Asvali invocations and just like blow up their little Ashlings. So it's like a fantastic way of dealing with an opponent's board state if they are playing Dromai as well. But as we said before, up to any 2 targets again is nice in a multiplayer and upcoming PvE stuff as well to deal damage to any target you want.
Guys, I really want to build Dromai in UPF. Like, I think that's probably the first thing I'm doing after I open up all my boxes. I'm building a Dromai UPF deck with like Burn Them All and Asvali. Just imagine attacking with Asvali as your first dragon, right? So you're attacking with them and it triggers your Burn Them All, so everyone takes 1 from that. And then you can target 2 additional people to do some more ping damage with Asvali. It's going to be sweet. I'm so looking forward to it.
It's going to be really cool. Like, this is very much you're commanding an army of dragons.
Yeah, dragons.
Absolutely. There we go. You heard it here first. Next UPF game, when we get round to it, will be Kel playing Dromai.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing Dromai. Like, it's gonna happen.
Nice.
Speaking of dragons.
Yeah. Very important one. I'm gonna hop in on this one just because I'm a big fan. So next we have another dragon, another illusionist dragon, Uvia. Uvia. Sorry, that's me just misreading it, but it is Uvia. Invoke Uvia. And this was revealed by Olivia, also known as Affinity for Artifacts, and Brian Kibler, the Dragon Master himself, which is glorious, like absolutely phenomenal. Love that. But yeah, so this is a Draconic Illusionist action, Invocation, so another one of the double-sided cards that we've already been talking about previously, but red pitch, costs 2 to play, defense for 3, and it just says transform target Ash you control into Uvia. Go again. And then Uvia herself is a Dragon Illusionist Dragon, or Draconic Illusionist Dragon ally. 1 attack, 6 health, so pretty beefy. Yeah. And then at the start of your turn, or when Uvia enters the arena, transform up to 1 Ash you control into an Ether Ashwing, which I think is so much inevitability. You're just being able to create 1 additional ping guy every turn. And, you can sit back. This has 6 health. That's pretty tough to deal with in 1 blow unless your opponent, actually... Yeah, unless they're actually deciding, I'm going to take one of my haymaker attacks that was going to go directly at my opponent and instead chuck it into Uvia. I think that's a decent trade. And another thing to note is Uvia is not legendary. So you could have multiples of these on the field at the same time, which is kind of terrifying. Creating 2 or 3 additional Ashwings every turn. is pretty great. I think this is going to be a good one.
The line space on it is just so good, isn't it? It's nothing like we've ever seen before. Just creating dragons at the start of your turn or when Uvia enters is just fantastic. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And as you say, you can stack these up again, like the burn, the whatever it was called. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, Kel's card. You can just stack these up and just get loads of value out of it. And the fact that it's got 6 health as well, that's a big old card that someone has to chuck at this big dragon to get rid of it. So forcing those decisions is fantastic.
I really like just having 2 red pitch cards and invoke Ubia in your hand, and you pitch both of them to play her, generating 2 ash from Dromai, and then turning one into a dragon and immediately slamming with both Uvia and the Ashwing because they all have Go Again from Dromai's ability because it's a red pitch card. So I like this card a lot. It's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I think we have our last card for today. As I think you're up on this one.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes, this was Tannen's preview card, Flame Call Awakening. So this is a draconic action attack. So it costs 1, and it attacks for 3, blocks for 2. But it says when you attack with Flame Call Awakening, if you've played another red card this turn, which is very, 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 very likely, of course, you may search your deck for a Phoenix Flame, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So again, we've got the recursion cards that we spoke about, but now we have the tutor for the aforementioned Phoenix Flame, which is being compared to the savage combo of Belittle and Minnoism on Tannen's tweet here, which is what I've pulled up. But that's the tutor effect for your engine in tandem with the recursion effects for your engine as well, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I love this card. Slam it, max copies every Draconic deck that runs Phoenix Flame Engine.
Common as well.
This is phenomenal. Yeah, and it is likely, just from what we're seeing here, it is likely that it will be part of a cycle as well. So you could run 9 copies of this. Use it to just make sure that you're hitting your Phoenix Flames as early as possible.
Yeah, I really do think this card in particular really makes the deck more consistent, especially if you can have 9 copies of them. Because the other ones are great for the recursion, like if you've already attacked with your Phoenix Flames or whatever, because they get them out of the graveyard. But this one actually smooths out your plays and gets them from the deck, which is really important. You don't have to rely on luck of the draw here. So I think Flame Call Awakening is really a key piece to the Phoenix Flame puzzle.
It is, yeah, because obviously you're searching for them out of the deck. You don't have to worry about having to fetch them out of the graveyard. You're searching for them, from your actual deck. I know 5 begins with 1 in the grave. That's just an added bonus. But this is, as you say, it's the smoothing out of that strategy, isn't it? So. Yep. And it's an attack with Go Again, so obviously it builds your chain links.
I think almost every card here has Go Again, either from Dromai or natural. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. No, big fan of that one. And then what else?
That's
we got?
pretty much all the cards we've got. Pretty much all the cards we've got for this week. Obviously, by next week we'll have all of the content creator cards, won't we? By next week, I believe.
Yeah.
Next time we do.
I think before the Uprising World Premiere event, which is on Friday, everything will have been spoiled or will have the possibility of being spoiled, because I think 3 people are opening up booster boxes, including a friend of mine, Tullian Community College. I think Tullian Community College and 2 other folks are opening up booster boxes. So,
nice.
I'm looking
forward
to
time next week. Yeah, we can speak about everything with regards to what's been spoiled, and we're going to get all the ice cards as well, which we haven't even seen anything of at all.
Yeah. This Living Legends podcast will be probably a little bit late next week because I will not be returning from the world premiere event until Monday. So earliest recording will be like Tuesday.
That's fine.
So it'll be a little late. It'll be like around Wednesday, Thursday-ish, probably next week.
Whenever we get around to it, that's not a problem at all. But make sure we obviously tune in next week for all the other cards that we're going to talk about. But I wanted to mention as well, Twitter conversation or Twitter tweet of the week coming from Sin Briar Enthusiast, mentioning about a certain Everfest item. Can you guess what it is, listeners or people in the chat?
Write your predictions in the comments below.
Yeah. That's a British show called Countdown. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about actually.
Yeah. So Sin Briar Enthusiast mentioned that his tweet was, "Hey, Flesh and Blood community, a light bulb just went off in my head." And he was mentioning the Talisman of Recompense from Everfest, one that allows you to, when you pitch something that gives you 1 resource, it instead gives you 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite good in this meta.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thing because you still have to get the talisman, and the talisman itself pitches for 2. So it really feels like a combo card, right? You want to have it for turns where you need a lot of resources all at once. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, you're essentially just banking 2 resource over to the next turn. It's kind of like an energy potion in that way. Obviously a little bit less flexible, but it does then also have go again, so you can kind of weave it in on off turns a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's a good call. I think that it will probably see some amount of play in these decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some other talismans and amulets and stuff that we'll see play too.
The one that I had the light bulb moment for personally was realizing that because of how Phoenix Flame, like how I figured it was going to work. This was again before I had seen anything else to give me context. I was like, if there is something in place to make Phoenix Flame into an engine where you're able to recur it and play it multiple times in a turn, I was like, you know what card cares about playing multiple cards with the same name? Amulet of Echoes. Which can potentially, depending on how their turns stack up, if for those of you who don't know, Amulet of Echoes says instant, destroy this, target hero discards 2 cards, activate this ability only if that hero has played 2 or more cards with the same name this turn. Making your opponent discard 2 cards is pretty backbreaking sometimes.
That's the one that I saw other people talking about, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of gross actually, with all this Phoenix Flame stuff and being able to recur the Phoenix Flames and search for the Phoenix Flames. I think it's like not a meme. I think it's legit, like really good.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how it all shakes out. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, that's what I like about it though as well. Like whenever a new set comes out, people just go back to older sets and think, "Oh, these cards were absolute trash back then, but what can they do now? What can we do now with them?" So yeah, it's just good that obviously Flesh and Blood minds out there are sort of deciphering these things.
You just get your mind racing whenever you see new stuff, and it's like, okay, well, what can we do with that?
Oh, it's my favorite part, man. I love new sets and just diving in and exploring all the options. I can't tell you how excited I am to like finally play with these cards. I'm gonna do what I did for Aria World Premiere event. Obviously, gonna keep my sealed pool and then just like build it multiple times and play around with it and stuff. I'm hoping to win at least a couple more games. So basically, at the World Premiere event, if every win you get a pack of Uprising, and what I'm hoping to do is win at least 3 games so I can try to draft with some people, like with my 3 packs, and hopefully other people win 3 times too. That's my goal. I want to do that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm so looking forward to this set, man.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, I've come up with a few other sort of closing questions, really. And the first one would be, like, so far is Uprising what we've expected? I mean, for me personally, I think it is because obviously the Uprising, you know, the graveyard recursion and stuff, I think, you know, was a speculation that a lot of people were thinking of. And that's obviously one of the main themes and flavors of the set. I think, it's definitely meeting my expectation for that. But is it what you expected so far? Without seeing the ice stuff?
I mean, the ice stuff is going to throw things for a loop, I think. But yeah, like more dragons than I thought. But yeah, I think it's awesome. And I don't want to get too much into it because we're already like an hour and a half, hour 40 into the podcast. But like, there's so many different aspects of the set that I really, really like. I love the mechanics, but I also really like the setting. And I like what they're doing with some of the ways that they're doing storytelling in regards to like the characters and where they get their abilities from, and like how the dragons are made of ash from the desert, and the desert's not sand, it's all ash, and it's like just super cool fantasy stuff. I'm really into it.
Well, yeah,
it's so good. So I can talk a lot about that. Maybe we will in a future episode, but
it's all been done. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Uprising's awesome. I'm really into it.
Fully agree. I'm hyped for it. I really genuinely want to build a FI deck like immediately. I think that having a deck that utilizes like a specific engine is just such a cool design space, and I'm absolutely here for it. Phoenix Flame is going to be my jam. Just being able to leverage that in any possible way is where I'm going to be for the next few months.
I also very much want to build FI too. It's just it's funny because like I love all the Flesh and Blood sets, and I really like the heroes that come out, and there's no hero that I like just straight up hate. But like I'll be honest, like with Arya, like I clearly wanted to build Lexi more than the others. Like I just want to build Lexi, and then I was like, kind of Briar, and then I really didn't feel Oldhim, just kind of not my style. I like the character, but I don't like the slow grindy deck. Like I don't like that gameplay. But for this, I see both Dromai and Fi, and I'm like, I really want to build both of them. Like, and I don't know about Icelander yet, but I like Icelander before, and I'm probably gonna like Icelander after I see more of her cool stuff.
Yeah, she's very specifically getting some interesting tech. Like people are talking about, there's a specific card that has already been revealed for Icelander. I forget what it's called. It's
well, one of the mechanics was like freeze things, wasn't it? Like freezing.
Yeah, being able to freeze stuff is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so again, directly sort of interacting with board state design space, which is obviously what we're getting into in this set by the looks of it. It's going to be interesting to see, definitely.
Yeah.
But speaking of interesting things, what is your favourite card, do you think, spoiled by another creator? So you can't pick your own one.
Can I just pick? I mean, picking a hero is kind of like cheese, I think.
I'll go first.
That counts.
I'll go first, and I'm going to be picking the Affinity for Artifacts, Olivia and Brian. I just love that dragon. I love the fact that it makes more dragons every turn and just sort of contributes to that sort of board state development strategy, which we haven't seen yet. So that's my favourite card of the ones we've seen so far from Olivia and Brian Kibler, the dragon.
I don't know. I mean, I would say Dromai, but if I have to pick another one, I actually really like the common equipment Silken Form. It's like this complete.
Kind of looking at that one too.
It's like a complete tidy little package, and the art is cool. I just love everything about it. I really want a cold foil one, so I'm gonna pick Silken Form. It's kind of a weird choice with all these big, majestic dragons and all this other stuff, which I think are equally awesome. But I just like how complete Silken Form is as like a nice little tidy card.
Well, I guess you're a man of taste, so I understand.
Yeah.
I think mine probably goes to Fable Gaming Hong Kong with Phoenix Form. I just really like Phoenix Form. I just think that it's like a really cool card.
I don't think anyone's gonna fault you for that. Phoenix Form is like real spicy.
It says draw 3 cards on it. Did anybody see that?
It costs 0 and says draw 3 cards on it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the only other card we had for that was relegated to the worst class in the game.
And it doesn't attack for. I mean, like 3 of a kind doesn't even attack for 5. This one does.
This attacks for 5 and it has go again. It's crazy.
And you don't have to play the cards from your arsenal. You can just play them from your hand. So.
Yeah, I think Phoenix Form so far is like my winner.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's
as long as the requirement's there, it just basically says pay nothing. Target opponent discards their hand.
Yeah, rip all the cards from their hand and probably a piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah, obviously we've got loads more to come, so obviously that might change next time you hear from us. Any sort of last minute tinfoil hat predictions before we see the rest of the things?
I don't know. I don't really know. I'm gonna guess this is just a random thing because I don't really have anything to say specifically on any cards, except for maybe I think the Fabled will be another location. I'll just say it's either a location or I think a crown could be really cool.
Ooh,
But I feel that's more aligned with like a legendary piece of equipment. So I'm gonna go with a location, like the Emperor's Palace or something cool like that.
Yeah,
That would be really nice. I like that a lot.
Nice.
I think the only tinfoil hat theory that I have, which now that I've sort of seen some extra discussion and we've talked about it a bit, I think that there's going to be a way to play Phoenix Flames from your banish zone. Because some people have been saying, you know, Talisman of Cremation shuts down this strategy super hard by being able to banish Phoenix forms or Phoenix Flames specifically. And it's like, well, if that happens, then the deck just is shut down. But I think there was another spoiler. I don't know if it was an official spoiler or not. There was also a fake spoiler going around, so it might have been in the same category as that. But I seem to remember seeing something that required you to banish a Phoenix Flame from your hand or your graveyard or something similar.
Yeah.
So if it was the case that having them interacted with shuts down the deck, then obviously that wouldn't really allow for that design space of there being a card that requires you to banish one. So it's like, well, there's probably a way to either play one after you've jumped through a couple of hoops, or, you know, like it won't be the easiest thing in the world, but I think there will likely still be a way to recur your Phoenix Flames, even if somebody thinks that they've gotten rid of them for good. Which will make the deck
zone. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll make the deck maybe just that much like slightly more annoying to play against. But
Yeah.
I'm just super excited to see what else is in store, because I think we've probably only seen, I would estimate, half of what Uprising has to offer at this point, even
much,
probably
yeah.
less than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just super excited. I've said that a bunch of times.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's going to be fantastic, and obviously, on the next one, you'll hear a lot more stuff, and it could change everything. It probably will change everything, because we're going to see all the ice, all the control, and all the Icelander goodies and freezing things and all sorts. So
I think by the next one I will have actually played with Uprising a little bit, so I'll have a lot to say, specifically about the limited formats. But
sounds good. Nice. Cool. That's pretty much wraps it up then, really. I mean, obviously we're going to do an Arsenal step as well, which we spoke about on the pilot episode, and obviously we had the Shui last time, but I think we've gone. I think we've gone over. Unless we want to squeeze it in. Does anyone have anything to say about stuff outside of Flesh and Blood? Anything?
I could Arsenal, but Bill, you could also Arsenal if you have something good to talk about.
Yeah, I just have like a quick one. So if you have something more substantial you want to talk about, you can.
But, you can go for it, man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
I recently, like as of I think maybe Wednesday or Tuesday, I have decided to try drinking coffee.
Ooh.
So
What?
yeah, I got
You've
myself.
never tried it before?
No, literally. Like
Wow.
I just had never gotten into drinking coffee. It just wasn't anything that I was ever interested in. And all of a sudden, I just woke up and I was like, I don't know, something about it just called to me. So I kind of went all out. My girlfriend likes to collect like old Pyrex and stuff. So we had like one of those glass stovetop percolators from like I don't even know what era that's from, probably the 70s or something. So we have one of those. I got some beans from a local coffee shop, like a family-owned thing, and then I got a nice handheld burr grinder.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm kind of trying to do it in a way that gives it the best shot for me, because again, I was never like super interested in it, and so far, maybe there's something to this coffee thing. It's actually kind of decent.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I have a similar story. I got back into coffee, or got into coffee, maybe like a little bit after I went full-time content creation, so 8 months ago or so. I do French press instead of like a percolator. So I just have a French press, and I do everything else, buy local coffee and stuff. Do you have any preferences so far on like roast types or anything like that?
I've only gotten the one. I have like the beans that I bought were medium roast,
Okay.
and so far they're good. I haven't really experimented yet and like tried different ones, but medium is going pretty well for me. I was reading descriptions of like dark roast coffees though, and I was like, those sound like pretty cool flavor profiles.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I go for the dark roast most of the time.
It's funny. I thought I would be more into the light roast because I'm not super into like incredibly bitter things, but I actually prefer dark roast. I think.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know why, but I think I prefer the dark roast. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's just because it's more bitter, and that's what British people are, just bitter, basically.
I think I like the dark roast because I do. So I don't drink it straight. I add a little bit of like cream, and I think it being more bitter makes it just taste better when I add the cream. So if I think I would like light roast better if I drank it straight, but since I add cream, I think I like dark roast better. That's just what I think. I don't know. I don't know if that has any bearing, but yeah.
No, I feel like that probably checks out. Again, I'm not knowledgeable whatsoever, but yeah, just kind of a cool thing. I was just like, you know what, I think I'm gonna do this, and so far it's going well.
Yeah, it's nice little sort of routine to get into in the morning as well, like just making a coffee or chilling out and just sort of having a sip of your old drink and just having your own thoughts for a while. So it's nice little routine to have, I think, as well. So
Being able to sort of center around your coffee is kind of a neat experience. But yeah, I think that should just about play us out. So
definitely, yeah.
What do we got?
Nice. So yeah, if we just want to shout out our platforms and channels and all that sort of thing, I'll start because I've been hosting this today. My name's Az from Go Again Gaming, little YouTuber from the United Kingdom, and yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Go Again Gaming, and on Twitter, quite active on there recently, Go Again Gaming AZ. So that's me. Who wants to go next?
Kel follow up. Let's go.
I love how we pause and then we both thought the same thing. Like, all right, I guess I'll go for it at the same time. Sure. Hi, my name is Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. You can find me at Red Zone Rogue everywhere. YouTube and Twitter are the best places. I also have Facebook and Instagram, though I use them a little bit less. If you want to contact me at all, Twitter's the best place to do so. Flesh and Blood Twitter is fantastic, by the way. So if you have not signed up for Twitter and you're like, I don't like Twitter because it sucks, it does kind of suck, but just follow the right people. Just follow all the cool Flesh and Blood people, and then you're good to go. Because the Flesh and Blood community is great on Twitter.
And the Flesh and Blood community is so welcoming and just so positive. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, but to end us off, last and hopefully not least, I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. You can also find us on YouTube. We have the Spike Feeders as our main channel. It's very Magic the Gathering based, but we do also have a sister channel, Spike Feeders FAB, for Flesh and Blood content. You'll mostly find me on there. But yeah. That's where you can find me.
I would definitely not say least. I would say equal. Last and equal.
Last and equally important, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Living Legends podcast. That's what you can come to expect. So wherever you might be out there listening now or in the future, make sure you check in to the next episode of this, which might be slightly later as a result of the events that various members are going to. But yeah, have a great week wherever you might be, and that's pretty much it for this week. So thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one.
Peace.